You know the rules. No droids, no bounty hunters, no Raylos, no Ray Nobodies, no sequel trilogy fans. I gotta get this shared out, and then I'll be right back. And go to Facebook. Right, so I'm back. So I did an update on, did an update on, a video on the Netflix story because Cameron, one of his colleagues that he works with, discovered through this lady, I guess, that Netflix is abandoning the woke stuff, and she's told that by a Netflix executive. Now, a lot of people will say, no, they're not, la la la, this is bullshit, and that's just for clickbait. Do I believe it? Yeah. My idea for the video was going to be, who migrated over to Netflix that is woke, and just, from Disney, from wherever. Nobody. So they had their own little cabal there, and we all know why. We all know why there was a boycott. First off, a same-sex couple, two gay guys, in a children's cartoon. That's bad enough. But then they're grooming their son, who dances a little dance for them in a dress and a tiara. And then, of course, there's the same-sex kiss between two girls. Not family-friendly programming, right? Not saying that Netflix is family-friendly, but, if you're going to do something for kids, perhaps you should think about it before you start, putting all this crap out there. I'm literally like, I don't blame people. Now, I dumped my subscription when they refused to take that perverted, almost pornographic documentary about the little girls who do beauty contests in Europe called Cuties down. And the woman who made it, consider the culture she comes from, and child stuff like that is common. Look what's going on in Britain right now, right? So, her being pissed off, and so I'm not going to take it down. Fine. I don't have to have a Netflix subscription, especially since I very happy have a Paramount Plus subscription, so I can watch all the Frasier, all the Wings I want. I can watch The Offer over and over again, like I do. And I can watch Tulsa King, okay? And the Taylor Sheridan stuff, Disney for Star Wars, and, sometimes you feel like walking down the path of nostalgia and watching something else there. But as far as like Netflix, I don't really see the need for it. What is really interesting is the fact that they have a huge stock price. Like, we've got Tesla at like $450 a share. Netflix is $1,200 a share. And if you had been in on the ground floor when it first went public, it opened at $60.19. If you'd have bought 10,000 shares, how much you would have, millions of dollars, right? So I looked at that stock price and said, there's something else going on here, and there wasn't nobody left It seemed to me like they felt still pretty safe to put their loony shit on, and people called them out. And, Cameron's colleague basically said she was told they're not going to do it. They're going to get rid of they're walking away from the woke. You're not going to get an announcement, right? You're not going to get a press release. It's just going to disappear, just like with Disney, right? Now, they kind of put it out there that they had discontinued Reimagine Tomorrow, but a lot of the people that were part of that are still at the Walt Disney Company, at least as far as their LinkedIn accounts say. So, it's look, here are the things that you got to think of. What are the big black pill channels going to do without Kathleen Kennedy? They've already started aiming at Jon Favreau, which is fucking stupid, but typical. And what are they going to do when there isn't any more woke shit? Now, granted, we're getting pummeled on a daily basis by Antifa, and of course, what happened to Charlie Kirk. But that's the reaction to the world saying, we're not going to enable you fuckers anymore, right? Just, that's their reaction. And it's really interesting to me watching this all happen kind of organically. It starts, kind of disappearing. The blue-haired land whales and their boyfriends or whatever freak out, and people get hurt, and then they just disappear. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're seeing it all across the country. The Democrat Party is imploding right now. Now, I'm not going to say that the governor's race is going to go to the Republican in New Jersey, but watching the voter registrations, people who never voted before, Democrats leaving. Why? Sick and tired of this woke shit. The lack of common sense. You cannot have a conversation with a Democrat anymore. All right, you just can't, except for Bill Maher. And he's even telling them, you're all a bunch of idiots. I think he's going to get red-pilled, right? I mean, after what happened to Charlie Kirk, the woke is going to disappear, and they're going to complain. They're going to scream. They're going to rant and rave, and maybe somebody else will get hurt, and then they will just disappear. Because it was always a trend. It wasn't going to make anybody any money. And there you go. Anyway, but now we've got Netflix being boycotted. And again, you'll look at their subscriber base and you look at their shares, and you could buy a lot of shares of Tesla for what one share of Netflix will go. I don't think that was the point. I think they started watching their subscriber base disappear, right? Cuties was enough for me. I was like, fuck you. If you're gonna do that to little girls, I don't need to be spending my money on this. And now we've got, this fucking cartoon aimed at children to groom them. And let me tell you something, these people understand. You and I can see something and not be affected. Little kids can be very susceptible to images and to messages because their brains aren't fully formed. In fact, the human being's brain isn't fully formed until they're 25. So in that sense, you're still a child till you're 25. I'm serious. If you think about it. And these people know that, which is why they aim at kids, which is why Cynthia Nixon groomed her kids, right? Which is why, they have these cartoons, which is why Leslie Headland wanted to make the trash light, which is why Pablo Hidalgo said to that podcaster and his partner, we're going to indoctrinate the kids. And he said that. I don't have to not believe. I don't have to not believe. He said that, right? So this is what is happening now is the big the big companies aren't making any money anymore. They're not making any money anymore. And from woke. And, do I have to bring up The Last Jedi? Do I have to bring up the fact that Hasbro didn't even make a Rey figure for, hi Kim, a Rey figure for The Rise of Palpatine? No, I don't have to bring that up. And, because we all know that. Here's the deal. Kim just brought this up. The problem is when we were all going to college, we wanted jobs. We wanted to get an education so we could get jobs. These guys, like the Hidalgos of the world, went to college in order to learn how to be activists in the creative sense. And they're activists. They're not creative. They've never been creative in their whole life. That's just the way it is. And my advice to anybody who feels the need to go out there and just fill cartoons and children's books with this garbage. If you want to be an activist, go out and be an activist. Antifa is hiring. All right? Go do that. It's just the way it was planned out. I'm going to tell you something. Back in the day, the communists back in the former Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin realized workers of the world unite didn't work. They were going to have to start going after the kids in colleges. That's exactly what happened. That's why we've got Pablo Hidalgo and his wife and all the rest of this filth and the people that created that disgusting, disturbing cartoon at Netflix, right? They were going to use what little talent they have to indoctrinate the kids. And again, kids are very susceptible to images. Their imaginations are evolving. It's a perfect time right now for when a kid's like 7, 8, 9 years old, maybe 4, to be infected with this garbage, right? That's why they do it. Do I have to replay LaToya Raveno's disturbing statements about gaying up everything she saw when they were, the Reimagine Tomorrow thing? No, I don't. That's exactly what they wanted to do. All right. And they like having parents and their kids being at odds. Look at the kid that shot Charlie Kirk. His parents, normal, I would probably say because they're Utah Mormon, conservative, voted for Trump. This kid went to college and was already probably infected with this garbage. And then college just opened it up for him. And that's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with, guys like, Taylor Sheridan and, great writers like that and great filmmakers. We're dealing with people who are activists pretending to be writers and directors and creatives. Like Ryan Roundhead Johnson's floating around the news right now because his latest Knives Out asinine made for TV movie starring a guy who I think is probably gay, Daniel Craig. And, you know, he deliberately went, when he wrote The Last Jedi, deliberately went to destroy Han Solo, any vestiges that remained of him, and Luke Skywalker. And he tried to make it look like an art film. Those stupid dice that no one noticed. How many times have I seen A New Hope and wondering, the fuck, what are you talking about with the dice, right? You know, and of course what he did to Mark Hamill. And I honestly think the reason why Mark Hamill has lost his fucking mind is because of what they did to Luke. I don't remember him being this batshit crazy, right? I don't remember that. And it's partly his fault. Maybe he should study Buddhism like Harrison Ford does and not let things get to him like he does. I don't know. But I gotta say, man, I'm like, what are you gonna do here? I mean, what? You know, Ryan Johnson is an activist, just like the rest of them, just like Leslie Headland, just like, you know, and Kennedy with her socially responsible art collection. If you guys remember that, she sold it all. Wonder why. You know, of course she's gonna hire them. She's not gonna give Georgia's vision the time of day because she's too busy being politically correct and some work that doesn't, you know, work in Star Wars for sure. So, you know, I just go, you know, now we've got Netflix and apparently they're walking away from the woke shit. You know? And, you know, you know, you could have seen this in 2018. You could have seen this in 2020. Right? You could have seen this coming. That the trend that started, I think, with the Force Awakens. Right? The woke shit. Ended on November 5th, 2024, and you could have seen it coming. Because the harder they drove, the more pissed off people would be. I mean, look at J.K. Rowling. These activists have threatened her. They've threatened rape and murder on her. And it's like, they're shoving people from the opposite political, like this, together because they are so heinous and disturbed and disturbing. You know, woke shit's dangerous for girls. It is. You know, I mean, the idea of going into a gym, be it Planet Fitness, the university gym, you know, your high school gym, going into the locker room and having a boy there. And don't tell me they're gay. Don't tell me they're trans. They're not. They're mentally ill. Okay, just don't. This whole thing is based on a premise that doesn't exist, right? You know, femi guys have existed. God, we saw one today that was like, you know, tall, skinny black guy wearing a peach-colored shirt, and it's October. It's like aces, you know. it's based on a premise that isn't true, right? I mean, where transsexuality has always been a marker for criminal behavior. What was that movie that Angie Dickinson was in? It wasn't Body Heat, but it was about the married woman in New York City who she has an affair and gets stabbed to death by a trans guy, by a trans woman. And the trans woman, I think, was played by Michael Caine. That is more reality than the people out there saying that how peaceful. They're not peaceful. In fact, what's really, do you guys all remember Silence of the Lambs? And the bad guy, Buffalo Bill, wanted to have a sex change and they wouldn't give it to him because he was violent. They're now saying fuck it, and they're doing it anyway. They're because it's a money-making machine. I think that it should be outlawed. I think these people who have this disorder should have to spend time in a mental hospital and be taken care of away from society, because look what happened to Charlie Kirk. The shooter at the Catholic school, the Church of the Annunciation in Minneapolis, tranny. The shooter at that Christian school in, I think it was Nashville, tranny, right? It is a very violent thing, and their brains are not developed. Cross hormones are not good for people. Stop it, right? Just go on X and find Chloe Cole. She's a detransitioner. She's everywhere. She'll tell you. She'll tell you what they did to her before she was like, I don't like this, But that's what Netflix cartoon is putting out there. They these guys let their son wear a tiara and a dress, and he does a little dance for them. Do you want your kids saying that? Do you want to see that? Look, if you had a TV show like, and there was a really heinous gay couple in there, you'd probably turn it off. Stop watching it. I happen to like the TV show, the streaming show, Shrinking, because it actually kind of shows, I think, a neighborhood in upscale neighborhood in Los Angeles, and what it's really like. There's characters. I don't like either gay character because it's like, stop acting like that. We don't act like that. Please stop. I don't like the married lady from across the street. She's a fucking bitch. But it's a good show. I mean, it's you can't go wrong with Harrison Ford. You can't. Anyway, I also wanted to bring this up. Kevin Costner got dragged by the Hollywood Reporter today. If you haven't read it, read the article. I would have put it in the chat if I'd have thought of it sooner. Absolutely dragged. And half of me thought, someone did this deliberately to him. And then the other half of me said, he put this PR in there himself. This is him. It was a really, I always thought Kevin Costner was the discount Harrison Ford. Like, if you had a movie and Ford passed on it, Kevin would do it, right? And there are a couple like The Bodyguard, and some other ones that I'm not sure if Harrison Ford has ever offered the role, but there have been a couple of movies that he was offered the role that he said no to, that somebody else, a lesser quality celebrity took. You know, and the way they oversell Costner's, you know, back in 1990, he was considered to have the screen presence of Gary Cooper. Kevin Costner? Really? No. What? No. Again, the guy, I never, and this is just me, I never felt like he was a true classic. You know, like, you know, Mel Gibson and Harrison Ford and, you know, Robert Redford. You know, it just, no. And, you know, I mean, Taylor Sheridan actually wanted Robert Redford to play John Dutton, and Redford said no. So Kevin was the next one. And, you know, the article was all about what a pain in the ass he is, what an egotistical pain in the ass he is. He started a fight, a shoving match with Wes Bentley at one time on Yellowstone. And after that, it got weird. That's not me saying that, that's the article. It's a really good article, and I think that you guys should read it. Because I don't know how to take it. All I know is that he, you know, he's being sued again. He's not going to get the money to finish Horizon at all because it flopped so hard at the box office. I think the reason why it flopped so hard at the box office is because of what happened on Yellowstone. That's just me. Anyway, I haven't been on here for like 27 minutes. I gotta go because I've got some packages to open. And you guys have a good evening, and I thought I would just yap, okay? So remember, no Ray Lows, no Ray Nobodies, no sequel trilogy fans, no bounty hunters, and no droids when you come here. Steph, signing out. See you around the galaxy.